You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to learn more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com, where we have past podcasts, blogs, and a couple items for sale. So check us out, beardedtheologians.com. Thank you for listening, and enjoy this week's show. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold.
So this week on the podcast, we wanted to talk about the importance of continuing your online worship experience or your online presence. Even though things seem to be coming out of COVID, and yes, I do recognize that there are some areas that are kind of flaring up again. There's still an importance of continuing those ministries because they're vital and they're important. And Zach and I kind of want to unpack that a little bit and talk about that, especially as we head into the summer months when that's a great opportunity for you to have people stay connected in the life of your church. And so, Zach, as you think about why we should continue online church, what are some things that come to your mind?
Sure. Even this topic has had a lot of tension surrounding it, even pre-pandemic, of how do we do online church? Why do we do online church? If we do online or digital things, people won't come, they won't give, they won't be whatever. And so there was just a lot around that. Then we hit the pandemic and I was like, oh, this is why we do it. And now that we're coming back around and sort of grasping towards security and what used to be normal and trying to get back to those types of things for all the reasons that we do that as people, it seems like we're having the big conversation now of why do we continue to do the digital thing? Why do we continue to stream our services? Why do we continue to have podcasts? Why do we continue to have all of this stuff when people can come back? And it's not, that shouldn't be the question. Matt, I don't know. Well, I do know about you, but those of you who are listening and listen regularly, I don't know about you, but we have seen a significant uptick in visitors to our church over the last 9 months or so as we've gotten back into the swing and being in person and trying to do that safely and all the deals. And almost every one of them, I think I've counted since August of 2021 until last week, we've had something like 60 people visit our church over that course of time. And many of them have told me, more than half, if not like 75% of the people who have visited the church in that time frame have told me they've been watching us online for weeks or months or however long, and before they even visited us. And so for me, that right there is enough to keep going. Not to mention the people that watch us each week, and over on the East Coast, we've got some folks in Texas, and we have some folks out on the West Coast that watch us, some of which have family connections or friend connections with our church. Others, not at all. They just kind of happen to find us, and here we are, and they consider themselves a part of my church here. And so, I mean, for me, that's just enough, right? But, Matt said a little bit ago, to start the conversation of, well, we're hitting the summer months and people are going to be gone and traveling and on vacation and seeing their grandkids and just being anywhere but their local community. And what better way to keep them connected, right? We already have this thing built in. We're already doing the thing. We're used to it. Why give up now? Why stop now when we're in prime mode to continue doing the things we are that are working really, really well?
Yeah, and I think that's the crux of the issue is that people don't. It's a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of work.
Sure.
But I think if you, and I don't want to speak for Zach, I'll definitely speak for me. I'm very intentional when I design our worship experience on making sure that both spaces feel connected to the life of the church.
Absolutely.
And if we can't do it in one, we can't do it in the other. And I think that's very vital that you think about that. I don't like the idea, and I know people do this. I don't like the idea of creating separate spaces.
Right.
and saying, I'm going to do this in the digital space and this in the real space.
Right.
I think to make it easier on you, for you pastors and you lay people that are listening and are in the thick of this, like the question is always asked, like, how do you make this easy? One of the ways you make it easy is you craft a space for both spaces to exist, to coexist. And I think that is vital. Like, you make sure you engage the congregation on the other side of the camera, make sure that they feel like they're included in the conversation, but also, making space for those that are in person. You've got to do that, and do the work of that, because if not, if you're doing all that extra work and you find yourself tired, a lot of us have been doing this for 2 years, and after, many hours of video edit and all that fun stuff, we're tired. And so how do you make it easy? Like, one of the things I've discovered is, if you craft a space like we have at Tahlequah, is to craft a space that is really inclusive of both, having both in mind. It means that some things go away, that you may have done in person, but maybe those were things that needed to go away. Maybe those were things that were not healthy, or find a way to mic them, find a way to, include them, have them videoed in. I think that if we can do those things, you'll find yourself being able to do some really cool things, thinking outside of that sphere, like thinking like, how can I do this online? That is something we've wrestled with for now 2 years. Of course, we were doing it a year and a half before COVID came in. We weren't really thinking that way. But then when COVID hit, we were only doing that way. And then when we came back, we crafted a hybrid space where both communities can feel connected. And like right now, as we're entering into this season where people are traveling and things, people can still feel connected to the life of the church, like they're there in person. But yet none of the elements, I mean, we've changed some things. There's some things we don't do, and there's some things that we do now because of that. And I think that that's vital. And to make it easy and not as stressful on yourself, like having a video recorded, having all that stuff, that extra work doing, recording all that music to have, like, to create a whole separate space. To me, that just seems like exhausting. I would much rather have a live space to where if when it all works now, what happens if live feed goes down or something like that? Then you record and then you reproduce it later, or you just say, hey, this Sunday got washed out, like you would on a Sunday when the power goes out, or weather or something like that. Or on the other side, like we've had bad weather lately, we can say, hey, we're not going to be in person today, but we'll be all online. And I think that taking some time and thinking about those spaces and working to craft those spaces to be one will help people feel engaged and connected to the life of the church.
Well, and that's exactly what changed, or at least should have changed in our mindsets from pre-pandemic to now, is really before there wasn't the intention for many folks of the hybrid space, right? It was just, here's a camera, you get to just watch what we're doing in person, but not really get to be a part of that. But our mindset changed of, oh, how do we make this meaningful? How do we keep connecting? How do we do this thing where it's both and that's what keeps us moving forward. And when your folks ask, well, why do we have to keep doing this? And it's because of our shut-ins have found a way to still be connected to the life of the church where they need to be. They're at home. That's where they need to be. And yet they still feel connected. And when we do this well, right? It's for our people who maybe have moved off, right? And haven't found their place in their new community, or just want to pop back in and feel something, or be a part of a community in the midst of their local community, right? And it may just be the stranger. It may be the person that's checking out your church for the first time, or for 6 weeks in a row before they step foot into your building, if they ever do. But they're still connected. And I think that's exactly right, is just being intentional about, it's not either or, yet it's this thing that works together both in a physical and a digital space that's meaningful and life-giving to as many people as possible, which is hard to do. But if you use some intentionality and to say, this is what we're going to be doing, that stuff comes. right? It's not as the learning curve evens out pretty quick, in how we bring meaningful worship services and to everybody, wherever they may be. And I think it's a shame if we quit doing that. I think we're missing out on a big deal as if we talk ourselves into, oh no, we're back to normal. We can let this lax. We can just let people tune in again and just watch it and it'll be okay. I don't think it will. I think our job is to engage all of that in meaningful ways, because that's how people are engaging us.
Well, and let's be real and honest, and this is something I say quite often to people. If you're wanting new people, the first place new people are going to go is look at your website and look at 100%. Your whatever else you have out there.
Yeah.
And I say that as a pastor incoming to a new church. That was the first thing I did when I found out where I was going.
Absolutely.
And so that's very vital to have a good online presence. It's now the front door. It's now your marquee. It is now whatever you used before to let people know that you exist in your community. That's how people look and see, where they see. I noticed on our analytics the other day, on our Google Analytics the other day, the first search feature that brought us up was churches near me. And so knowing that, you've got to be able to craft a space digitally that people are going to come to and see and say, hey, there's some people I see that I could want to be a part of, or, and even on, make sure your Facebook content is relevant and informational. Just posting Bible quotes doesn't make your church attractive. Right. Or posting, obscure information. You want vital, good, solid information so that people want to be connected into the life of your church. And I think that's key, is being intentional about it. Just as intentional as you are as the bulletin or newsletter, you got to be intentional with posting and all that jazz. And I think that's key to having a successful online presence. And the great thing is if you spend a day scheduling all your stuff, you can have all your stuff done for a week on Monday morning, knowing what you need to have. And there's ways to do that. And if you're interested in that, just let Zach and I know. We can definitely tell you what we've done and what we've learned over the last few years of doing this. And this is not just important to Zach and I. It's instrumental in what we do. The podcast was birthed out of this idea that we could create a digital space to show people what the church could be in the world. And I think that, we've been able to, do that. And, I think that's, as we think about this and as we think about the opportunity that we have here, what a better way to connect to your community than having a good, strong digital presence. And it goes back to then working towards crafting relationships and helping them, eventually try to find their way to your church. But, if they don't too, they still need to be loved as well.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up, I mean, websites and the digital storefront, right? They've been a connecting point for a long, long time. But as the church does, we're behind the times a little bit. But we've seen the same thing here. We are by far not the biggest church in Cheyenne by any means. We're not even the biggest Methodist church in Cheyenne by any means. But our online, because we've crafted an online presence through our website, through our social media pages. When you Google churches near us, we're one of the first that comes up because we have consistent quality content that people are clicking on and engaging with in all spheres of it. And for me, when I see those engagements and I see those analytics and stuff, I see those numbers. Well, that's why we've had 60 people visit. Partially why we've had 60 people visit, because they can find us online. And when they find us online, there's relevant information that they can see and click on and watch and be a part of that's consistent with what they walk in through our doors. And so, it all matters. I guess that's what Matt and I are trying to say today. It all matters, and it's all vital and good for our congregations and for the work that we do in sharing God's love and grace, even if we don't get to see the fruits of it. And I think that's the hardest part as pastors, as church people, is we want to see the people. We want to see the fruits of our labors, right? But sometimes that's just not possible. We have to have hope and faith that all the things that we're doing are reaching people for good and for hope, whether we see it or not.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good place to land today. Is that it is important, and that it is something we need to do and take seriously.
Yeah.
And that if you do it well, you're going to see some fruits from that labor. And some of it is if you do it well enough, you can actually set it up to where you don't have to work as hard on it. I mean, work, and so consider that. If you've got questions about how to do that or what we've experienced, feel free to reach out to us on our website, or you can email us at beardedtheologians.com. Zach, as we bring this podcast to a close, is there anything else that you have you'd like to share as we?
Yeah, just keep getting out there doing the good work, and reaching all the folks you can for sharing God's love and grace.
And so you can connect with us on our website and through social media. Just find us at Bearded Theologians. So for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtold. Thanks for checking us out.
Guys, I want you to subscribe and like this video and push that thumbs up.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all social media outlets. You can check out old episodes and more information at beardedtheologians.com. Thanks for checking us out.